Peskov. In remarks published today by the Russian TASS news agency, Peskov stressed that efforts to restore normal bilateral ties face inertia. He pointed out that it has been over 6 months since a new U.S. president has been inaugurated without a summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin. As diplomatic talks continue, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is expected in Moscow today to engage with Russian leadership in a further push to end the war in Ukraine. Meanwhile, President Trump has threatened to hit Russia with sanctions and tariffs unless President Putin agrees to a ceasefire and peace agreement by August 8th. Now for this discussion, we are joined by retired Major General Sudhakarji. He's a senior geopolitical and strategic defense expert. Thank you, Major General Sudhakarji, for joining us today. Good to see you. Now, given the ongoing tensions and the lack of a summit between President Putin and President Trump, how realistic is the idea of improving U.S.-Russia relations now?
Soma, good afternoon. Thank you for getting me to your show.
Thank you.
As regards the question which you have asked, this is my personal take. You see, relationship between country to country is it's a big issue. It's a big subject. Before that, the human relations, human beings have to come together closer. Everything starts with a single point of meeting. So far, the President of USA, that is Donald Trump, in his 2.0, he still has not visited Russia, nor has there been any kind of a meeting at the apex level, that is the summit level meeting. So in absence of a meeting between two leaders, one-on-one, I don't think there will be any progress. And as such, the Russia-Ukraine war is a very complex subject. And I personally feel, as a student of geopolitics and security and strategy, having gone quite deep into it, having written at the international level, given talks at the international global level on the subject, I'm more than convinced that it is the Western alliances, the NATO alliances, have a lot to do in order to restore trust. The trust has been breached between these two stakeholders, that is the Western alliance, the NATO and the Russia, mainly because of some kind of actions which the NATO should not have done. That is one. And second thing is, for everything to start, there has to be a cause and effect. The primary cause of Putin having invaded after having waited for so long. The conflict was on since 2014 or even prior to that. And it is only on 24th February 2022 that he made a public announcement, and thereafter he invaded. He undertook a special operation with an aim to finish it off as early as possible. But that early hasn't actually finished. So therefore, my take on the whole issue with regard to the question which you have asked, it is not possible to have any meaningful and substantive meaning unless there is a summit level meeting. Not that there is any guarantee that it will take place, but let it begin. Let once a meeting take place, thereafter it has to be repeated number of times. Back to yourself.
And Major General Sudhakarji, what role can diplomatic channels, even though you mentioned that it's kind of late now, but what role can there be any diplomatic channels that still are open, like now U.S. Special Envoy is in Moscow? Is it enough?
You see, there are multiple issues, Asoma. You see, for the trust to be restored, it is not only diplomacy, there has to be multi-pronged approach. There has to be backdoor diplomacy, there has to be a tractor diplomacy, there can be some kind of a behavioral diplomacy. You can't have it that you just announce a date, by 8th of August, everything will come to a standstill. It doesn't happen. The war has been going on for past 4 years, or maybe even more than that. It doesn't happen like that. Or you can't at gunpoint, you say that we'll impose sanctions. How many sanctions are you going to impose on Russia? Here is a country which has got maximum sanctions. I have been reading off and on. At places it's given more than 30,000, but the bottom line is 16,000 sanctions between 2014 till date. And very interestingly, the sanctions have been imposed on Russia, and sooner the Western countries have realized that if the sanctions are extended or continued, then they are the ones who will be affected. Their industry is based on the raw material which they buy from Russia, or the electronic products, or the fuel, or the gas. So likewise, my take on the whole issue is that a very substantive, meaningful, and serious and sincere effort has to go in. There has to be, without any media, there has to be a kind of a track to dialogue, and by responsible, mature interlocutors who should be heard by the decision maker. It shouldn't happen that Donald Trump is the man. If he decides something, it has to be done that way. No, that degree of flexibility has to be given to. It could be an economist, it could be a diplomat by his profession, it could be a military man. The military diplomacy at times has actually given out of proportion success. So these kind of methods have to be tried out. In fact, the intelligence people, they have also given a lot of success. So similarly, even the doctors, the nursing staff, you really don't know who can actually deliver how much, provided there is a degree of sincerity. Back to you, Asma.